Uno?
Biunno.
Biunno, thank you. She/her is a metadata archivist at the Institute of Jazz Studies at Rutgers University in Newark, New Jersey. She is the Metadata Standards Subteam lead for 2024-2025. And Frank Foss, she/her, is an artist auralophile, I'm sure that's not right, and the institutional archivist at the Milwaukee Art Museum and the vice lead of the Metadata Standards Subteam for the 2024-2025 year.
It actually should be she, they.
They, thank you. I
Yeah,
have
thank you.
And actually, will you tell what is the auralophile?
I am obsessed with cats.
Okay.
I
Okay,
probably have
great.
toxoplasmosis, but the nice way to say it is allurophile.
Okay, thank you. That is an interesting tidbit. The presentation today, so the Metadata Standards Subteam supports the ArchivesSpace community by taking a transparent and proactive approach to documenting the metadata standards used by the ArchivesSpace application and monitoring the standards landscape. This session will provide an update on the subteam's initiatives and accomplishments so far this year. It will give a backdrop as to what we do in general and also explore opportunities for the broader community to engage with the subteam's efforts and invite feedback on how the subteam can strengthen connections and collaboration with the community. And now I'll turn it over to them.
Okay, so welcome everybody. My name is Diane Biunno, and I'm the lead for the Metadata Standards Subteam this year. I'm an archivist at the Institute of Jazz Studies at Rutgers in New Jersey.
Hi, my name is Frank, and I am the vice lead for the Metadata Standards Subteam for the 2024-2025 term. I am the institutional archivist at the Milwaukee Art Museum in Wisconsin.
So what is the Metadata Standards Subteam? So we are a small group of volunteers who support the ArchivesSpace community by taking a transparent and proactive approach to documenting the metadata standards used by the ArchivesSpace application. And we also monitor the standards landscape. We help support the ArchivesSpace community by working to improve how ASpace interacts with external metadata standards and schemas such as EAD, MARC, and DAX.
So who is currently volunteering on the subteam? As a dedicated group of volunteers who come together once a month for about an hour via Zoom to collaborate and address metadata challenges that impact the ArchivesSpace community. And we do this alongside our full-time responsibilities working in the archives. The 2024-2025 team includes myself and Diane, who you've already been introduced to, Jacqueline Devereaux-Asaro, the archives manager at Vanderbilt, Kate Bowers, the Collection Services Archivist for Metadata Systems and Standards at Harvard, Kevin Clare, the former lead of Metadata Standards and Digital Collections Librarian at Penn State. And while not officially part of the Metadata Standards Subteam, Christine DeBella, ArchivesSpace Senior Program Specialist, regularly attends our meetings. With the rapid developments in the archival standards landscape, we're grateful for Christine's ongoing participation and her guidance on how these changes may affect the ArchivesSpace community. Additionally, Kristen Spurgeon, Lyricist Senior Data Migration Specialist, and Jen Seawalk, Lyricist System Administrator, are frequent attendees at our monthly meetings. They're wonderful collaborators and help us navigate potential changes that could impact ArchivesSpace.
So what does metadata standards do? So metadata standards is involved in a variety of special projects, such as community outreach, surveys. For instance, you may recall responding to a survey we distributed last year in the spring. This survey was part of our effort to better understand how ArchivesSpace users interact with metadata and identify any concerns they may have. A special shout out to Kevin Clare, last year's subteam lead, who not only spearheaded the creation of the survey, but also played a key role in compiling and analyzing the results. Another significant part of our work involves responding to JIRA tickets, many of which are created by the ArchivesSpace community of users. As many of you know, all changes to the ArchivesSpace product are tracked through tickets, which ultimately guide the development process. So when a ticket involves metadata, the Metadata Standards subgroup is tagged.
Once we're tagged, our job is to review the ticket and ensure that the proposed changes are correct. If needed, we will conduct further research, and that often includes collaborating with the community to determine the best solution. The Metadata Standards Subteam also documents the metadata standards used by ArchivesSpace, conducts ongoing review of import and export mappings, and the evolving landscape of archival metadata standards. We advise other council subteams on matters concerning metadata standards and monitor the ArchivesSpace user group listserv for standards-related issues and to help answer your questions.
So what did we do in 2024, 2025? So the new term for the Metadata Standards Subteam began in summer of 24. And during that time, we developed our work plan for the year. So to guide us through this process, we first reviewed the results of the community survey, which had been widely distributed to ArchivesSpace users in spring of 2024. The feedback from the survey provided valuable insights into what we should prioritize and what we should put on hold. So, for example, we decided not to focus on RIC this term, as it has not yet been widely adopted in the US. Again, that might change in the future, but for this year, we were able to put that aside. Instead, based on the results of the survey, we chose to concentrate our efforts this term on addressing outstanding JIRA tickets related to MARC and EAD import-export. Additionally, this year, we've been focusing on soliciting feedback from the community, whether through our listserv or by attending events like the Member Match Mixer held last week. We are especially grateful to Jamie Margalotti, the lead of the Member Engagement Subteam on the User Advisory Council, for inviting us to attend the Mixer. It was a great opportunity to learn how users are interacting with ArchivesSpace, inputting and extracting metadata, and what some of their issues are. We've also begun working with the Multilingual Description Task Force to provide some guidance and some comments on related JIRA tickets, metadata related JIRA tickets. And finally, we're currently monitoring the development of EAD4, and we'll be developing some general recommendations for the future metadata standards subteam work. And now Frank will take you through some of the major accomplishments we've made in tackling JIRA tickets.
What year is this? The first ticket I'd like to discuss involved a MARC XML import issue. Specifically, the MARC XML authority agent import was extracting the wrong century for the maintenance history creation date from field 008. We are so fortunate to have Kristen attending our meetings because she flagged this issue, created a ticket, and proposed a solution. Kate, our resident MARC expert, worked closely with Kristen to resolve the issue. Thanks to their collaboration, the problem was addressed and the improvement was successfully implemented. This is a great example of teamwork in action. Another ticket we recently submitted is a suggestion to make instance type field optional. Currently, the instance type field, mixed materials, audio, text, etc., is required in ArchivesSpace. However, neither EAD nor DAX mandates an instance type, which often leads to archivists and ArchivesSpace users to enter generic or inaccurate values like unspecified or mixed materials just to meet the requirement. Most archivists we know find this field very frustrating. As a result, this field frequently contains junk data that doesn't serve much purpose. The requirement to fill it out is a legacy holdover from a previous system, Archivist's Toolkit. We're looking forward to seeing how this ticket progresses and whether it will lead to a more streamlined and accurate data entry process.
Okay, so we want to know. So, and now we have a few questions. Frank and I have a couple questions for the group. And we wanted to gauge how you're interacting with metadata with your workflows. So hopefully we can get a little bit of audience participation. So feel free to put your thoughts, I guess, in the QA or the chat. So we were wondering, first question, if anybody has made any local customizations to accommodate your metadata needs. Feel free to drop any comment into the chat or into the QA. And we're also wondering if, given the upcoming EAD update, how do you see your metadata needs evolving in the future? I'm seeing some comments here. For both, Joshua Shaw is saying yes, many for both Mark and EAD 3. And Emma Esperon, sort of waiting to see how much they update. Yes, definitely.
We're also curious about how you all currently use ArchivesSpace in your metadata workflow.
Sorry, hands saying we don't so much as customize, but rather adopt practices for different types of data. And Rachel Searcy, we make changes to the mark export via a plugin to interact with ILS. These are interesting comments. So Elizabeth Roque, re-EAD, would like to see ASpace have more capacity for URIs, yeah, rather than string data, as well as functionality for functions and declared relationships. Yeah, that's a big thing with EAD 4. Definitely, 100%. And Anthony, we rely on EAD for public access to our finding aids. So making sure that our metadata is consistent with EAD, but also with the transformer that makes EAD into HTML, makes up a lot of my job. So I'm just gonna, oh, and Kevin Clare saying I can't speak to EAD 3, but we've invited representatives from TSEAS to discuss EAD 4 roadmap with us and talk about what types of changes we might generally want to recommend to ASpace to so it best supports it. We haven't gotten to specific tickets or enhancement requests, so that will come later. And Jared says content is generally entered in ASpace first, and then some content is exported to our ILS, where it may get more descriptive mark data. And we're thinking of ways to better synchronize changes in ASpace or in our ILS. Awesome. All right, so just gonna move on here. Thank you all for indulging us in this participation. But all right, so how can you engage with metadata standards in 2025, 2026? So if you enjoyed this discussion, we encourage you to join the subteam. So each month we discuss similar issues brought to us by the ArchivesSpace community. There'll likely be a few open seats for the next term. The commitment varies, but it's approximately, I'd say, an hour or two a month, which includes monthly meetings, etc. And you and your colleagues on the team can help influence how ASpace manages metadata and be a voice in the process.
Please also reach out and talk to us, write or comment on JIRA tickets, be active on the listserv. We want to know what is and isn't working for you. And again, please consider serving on the Technical Advisory Council or TAC. Anyone can join. Being part of TAC provides professional development, leadership, and networking opportunities. It's been amazing to collaborate with this wonderful sub-team.
And I just saw in the chat, Jamie dropped a note like to the user manual and how to get on the community listserv. So if you're not on it yet, you can click on the link and get registered. And she's also very kindly put a link to where you can file bug reports and feature requests via JIRA. So thank you so much. And thank you everyone. For more information about the sub-team, please visit our GitHub and Confluence pages at the following links. We'd love to take any questions you have now, or if you prefer, you can also contact me or Frank via the email addresses on the screens. Hand it over to QA.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you both. Yeah, we'll go ahead and move over to the Q&A. You asked a bunch of questions of us, so now we can ask questions of you, right? So if anyone has any questions for metadata standards, please do drop those into the Q&A. We have a few minutes. I know you read Kevin Clare's response earlier, but I didn't know if you wanted to answer in your own way. Emma asked, how much do the ArchivesSpace groups or sub-teams work with SAA to give feedback on proposed changes to EAD or specifically EAD4? And I know Kevin did say that TSEAS is going to come and talk about the EAD4 roadmap with the team, but I didn't know if you wanted to talk any more about maybe how this group stays apprised of standards and changes to standards and how that work sort of works.
Yeah, so early on in the term, we did have someone come over and kind of give us sort of a broad overview and some resources for us to kind of review and look over and start to get more familiar with the EAD4. We're also in the process now of reaching out to have someone come and speak with us, as Kevin mentions, a little bit more in depth. And I think that will help. And also events like this and the member match mixer, kind of learning about what folks like concerns or challenges that they may have adopting, the new standard. I don't know if Frank has anything else to add.
I do not. You did a wonderful job. Thank you.
Yeah, and if you are interested in this sort of work or interested in metadata standards in general, like we said, the nominations for serving on UAC will be opening soon, and self-nominations are welcome. If maybe something you heard earlier about how the user document sub-team works or how this sub-team works piqued your interest, please don't hesitate to self-nominate to serve on one of these teams. It's always great to have more people. It's a lot of work.
Yeah, please nominate yourself. It's really fun. I can say it's definitely worth it with the connections that you make and just learning more about how this application works and having a say in how it develops.
Yeah, if you're the type of person that would say metadata standards are a lot of fun, this is the group for you. That's for sure.
It's true, and they are.
All right. I'm not seeing any other questions in the Q&A. I'll speak slowly in case one pops up, but thank you so much, Diane and Frank. That was great. Thank you for introducing us to the work that this team does. And yeah, that was good. It is time for our break on a schedule. We're a little bit early, so we're going to have a little bit longer break. I don't think anyone will mind that.